Thank you, Senator Welch. Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of the nominees. Thank you all for being here. Judge Bezos, if I could just start with you. I want to ask you about this case, United States versus Bartunik, I think it is, from 2017. Do you remember this case?
I do.
This is a case in which you granted pretrial release to the defendant. It was a child pornography case. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Now, you said in your responses to the panel's questions that the defendant had no criminal convictions and had lived in Nebraska his entire life, and that he owned the home he was living in and was employed. I understand, however, at the time that you granted him release, the Omaha Police Department had an open investigation regarding the sexual assault of a 7-year-old child in which he was the subject. He was the suspect, and that was in the pre-sentence report. So just walk me through your thinking.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we dive into a fiery Senate Judiciary Committee hearing where Senator Josh Hawley took center stage, questioning 2 Biden judicial nominees on their controversial decisions involving child predators. Stick around for the shocking details, the tough questions, and the moments that left the room silent. Let's jump right in. This hearing wasn't just another routine session. With nominees Judge Bossis and Judge Merriweather in the hot seat, Senator Hawley demanded accountability for rulings that many see as lenient in cases involving child sexual predators.
Thank you, Senator Welch. Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of the nominees. Thank you all for being here. Judge Bezos, if I could just start with you. I want to ask you about this case, United States versus Bartunik, I think it is, from 2017. Do you remember this case?
I do.
This is a case in which you granted pretrial release to the defendant. It was a child pornography case. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Now, you said in your responses to the panel's questions that the defendant had no criminal convictions and had lived in Nebraska his entire life, and that he owned the home he was living in and was employed. I understand, however, at the time that you granted him release, the Omaha Police Department had an open investigation regarding the sexual assault of a 7-year-old child in which he was the subject. He was the suspect, and that was in the pre-sentence report. So just walk me through your thinking.
During the hearing, I asked for additional information from the government, and they couldn't give it to me, so we didn't have a lot of facts in regards to that. The facts and circumstances, there was no additional information that was provided to me at that time.
So you didn't know he was the subject of the investigation?
There may have been a mention, but the question I had was, well, what does that mean? Has there been a report made? Is he truly the suspect, or was his name just mentioned? What were the circumstances? And at that point in time, there was no additional information that could be given.
I see. So it looks like to me what was, according to the revised PSR, the Omaha Police Department has an open investigation regarding the sexual assault of a 7-year-old child, who's then identified with initials, in which the defendant is the subject. But you're saying that you thought that was not sufficient in order to guide your judgment?
Was that the pre-sentence report, which would happen after sentencing, versus the pretrial report, which is what I would get prior to bond setting?
Offers the following objections to the revised PSR. The defendant objects to the inclusion of any reference, and then it goes on to quote this material about the sexual assault. So you're saying you didn't have that information?
Correct. That would have been after sentencing.
Okay, so you weren't aware that...
At sentencing, prior to sentencing after a plea, is when that information would...
Okay, so when you granted pretrial release, you were not aware that he was under investigation for the assault of a 7-year-old?
Based on what you're saying in that PSR, then no.
Well, I'm asking, is your memory any different? I mean, I can give these questions to you for the record if that would be more helpful. I just want to clarify the facts, because I just want to make sure. If you're telling me you didn't know about it, that's a very different thing.
Well, I don't believe I did.
Okay.
But
okay. I tell you what, I'll give you some questions for the record on this, and that way, so that you don't have to just rely on your memory.
And I can go back and look at the pre-sentence report.
That'd be great.
Or
That
the
would be great.
pretrial report, which would tell me that.
Great, fair enough, thank you. Judge Merriweather, let me just ask you in my short remaining time here, I think Senator Kennedy was asking you about this case, United States versus Johnson, where you recommended the release of a sexual predator to get medical treatment. Is that right? Do I have the right case?
Senator, I recommended a 21-day, a temporary release for medical treatment after holding multiple hearings and giving the government multiple opportunities to get Mr. Johnston to his appointments.
It's clear these cases have raised serious concerns, and the nominees had to explain their decisions in excruciating detail. First up, Judge Basis faced tough scrutiny over a 2017 case, United States versus Bonnick. This was a child pornography case where Judge Basis granted pretrial release to the defendant. Senator Hawley asked why she made this decision, especially when the Omaha police had an open investigation into the defendant for allegedly assaulting a 7-year-old child. Basis explained that at the time she lacked sufficient information to deny release, as the government couldn't provide additional details. Senator Hawley pushed back, questioning whether such a ruling aligned with public safety concerns. Judge Basis stood firm, but her answers left room for debate. What do you think? Was this a lapse in judgment or a case of limited evidence? Judge Merriweather was grilled on her recommendation to temporarily release a convicted predator for cancer treatment in United States versus Johnson. This wasn't an ordinary case. The defendant admitted to heinous acts, including abusing his 8-year-old daughter and previously molesting his adopted daughter. The government vehemently opposed his release, but Merriweather argued she acted on medical urgency. She explained her decision to impose stringent conditions like house arrest under his wife's custody, ensuring he only left for treatment. But here's where things got intense. Hawley pointed out that the district court overturned her decision, agreeing with the government's stance. Do you think medical needs justify temporary release in cases like this? So where do we go from here? These hearings are a reminder that judicial decisions have lasting consequences, especially in cases as sensitive as these. What are your thoughts on the nominees' justifications? Should judges take a stricter stance in such cases, or do they need room for nuanced decisions? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping our nation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.